Welcome. Nothing says welcome like a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to get to that soon. Don't want to hold you back from anything, but at least 1 minute to say thank you for being here. Pivot is not a social media conference. I just want to get that out of the way. This is a conference where together we are going to explore new technology and its impact on business, and also its impact on you and me, and how that changes what we consume and how we make decisions and how we influence the decisions of others just based on the experiences that we're sharing. You and I are going to spend the next couple of days getting to know the challenges that we have in our roles so that we can go back to the companies that we work for, we work with, or that we're starting to solve problems and create opportunities. It's not related to just social media, it's related to anything that helps you do today or tomorrow what you couldn't do yesterday. Because you understand, because you care, and you're going to leave with a newfound sense of innovation and inspiration, but I also hope empathy to see the world a little bit differently. So today you're going to see a lot of firsts, a lot of things being announced, and I'm going to kick it off with this. I work with a company called Altimeter Group. We are a research-based advisory firm, and we're releasing later today some interesting data points that's going to help you make the case, but also help you benchmark on what you're doing. A lot of talk about social business, what it is, what it isn't. Let me tell you why this is not a social media conference. The word social isn't getting us a lot of traction with the C-suite. We have a lot of work that we need to do. When you look at how companies are employing social media today, you start to see that social strategy and business strategy aren't necessarily in alignment. Companies aren't measuring how well they're performing, how they're helping in terms of outcomes, how they're helping in terms of business performance metrics. And when you look at the number of strategists and executives that feel that their social media strategy is actually holistic, that it looks beyond marketing, you see the numbers are really low, and that's a problem. And that's a problem that we actually have to solve, because you and I know that social media, the philosophy, the idea of interaction, openness, authenticity, transparency, that has every bit of opportunity to change business from the ground up, to change everything, even governments. But it's not going to get there if we leave it stuck in the marketing department. Marketing is not a department. Marketing, engagement, relationships, this is now a way of business. And earlier this year, Charlene, Lee, and I found out that there were actually 6 stages that businesses were undergoing as they sort of transformed into this social business. And businesses that we interviewed were all scattered throughout. There is no right or wrong way. There's just a path. And there's marks that businesses who make their way through leave for us to learn. And when you look at how those businesses are spread out, you'll actually see that most are in stage 2, 3, and 4. Presence, engagement, and starting to pursue a formalized strategy. You have companies that are fully converged, but only 3% of them on the far right. And I think that's a lot of work that we have to do together. So what I hope is that you're asking each other questions, you're asking us questions to help move this along. Because what's happening is that social media is becoming its own silo. And I know some of you are doing work to break it out of that, but that's a problem. When it gets stuck in the silos that you're actually trying to break down, the rest of the organization is going to do one of 2 things. They're either not going to take you seriously, or they're going to figure you own it, so therefore they also need to own it, and they're going to start to employ their own strategies absent of what you recommend. So what we're actually seeing is that social media strategies are being created and strewn throughout the organization. Now, what do you think that does for your customer? What do you think that does for your employee? They see a scattered approach. They don't see one brand. They don't see one business. They don't hear one message. They just hear a whole bunch of noise, and this sets the stage for social chaos. And when you look at the number of accounts on average that brands are managing, even though the number's down, they're still on average at about 130 accounts per brand. It's a lot. And I'd fair to guess that we don't need them all. So if you look then, what are the biggest opportunities that executives and strategists see for social? you'll see things like marketing optimization, right? Scale, one-to-many. How do we broadcast our message to more people? How do we get more clicks, more views, more likes, more comments, whatever. I hope we can get beyond that, because the second one that I feel is the most important is the idea of experience. And that's what this conference is about. It's about experience. What we have, what we feel, what we share, what influences other people. Customer experience is bigger than marketing, it's bigger than customer service. It is the experience that you create as a brand to instill into someone so that they actually become an extension of you and what it is that you represent. That to me is where the future goes, but you see that then following it is brand health as another priority. Pivot this year is about digital experiences and digital transformation. How are we changing how we work, how we approach markets, how we create products and services, because we see the bigger picture from an experiential standpoint. And then, how do we employ technology? How do we employ these new strategies and new channels to help us move along that way? Well, that means that we're going to have to rethink our metrics. It means that we're going to actually have to think why we're measuring something and how that aligns with business strategy. Because when you look at the number of folks that are actually measuring meaningful metrics, they're really low. But those who are measuring business performance metrics to these new strategies are finding things like, hey, we actually have insight into who our customers are and what their behavior looks like. Yeah, that's almost like a big duh, but it's important, because that's what's supposed to happen when you're using the right metrics. Other things are helping us make decisions, which is, by the way, one of the biggest barriers within an organization today is decision making, because people do things the way they always have because they don't know any better, and that's our job, is to show them better. Also discovering anticipated opportunities, how to change from the inside out in terms of organizational development, and of course, unanticipated risks. So look, that data, the reason we talk about experience is because it's about a journey. It's about how customers go throughout a discovery process, how they make a decision, how they feed back into that decision loop for the next person who comes in. When you start asking the right questions and you start measuring the right data, you start to see that it affects every step of the journey. So what I'd like each of you to do when you leave here today, thinking about your 2014 planning, is to say, what department do I work for within the company? And how do I become part of a team that creates one consistent journey where no one person owns a touch point, everybody works together to make the touch points seamless? Because that's all your customer knows. They don't see all the different departments. They just have that journey. And it's our job, I think, to get into customer journey management or customer experience management, where you lead what that looks like. Because the businesses on the far right of that evolution curve that you saw have figured this out. They've realigned all of their departments so that there isn't a website team who doesn't talk to the mobile team, who doesn't talk to the social team. They're bringing these people together because they're all in charge of the experience. Now, how's that for ridiculous? Let me know when your eyes stop bleeding. When you ask strategists what are the top technologies or the innovations that they're focusing on for now and the next year, gamification I thought was interesting all the way at the top. That's still a thing, obviously. Digital and social TV, mobile payments, hyper-local, indoor mapping, native, all of these things are where we need to focus, but I would say that the top trend where we're not focusing, where I didn't hear enough response from businesses, is how do we integrate that journey? How do we leave here and bring people together today that we don't work with in order to start to collaborate towards a productive experience? So this report will be available online for free later today. There's a whole bunch of stats that talk about budgets and head counts and future trends and past trends, so you'll be able to download it for free. Now, where do we go from here? You're going to hear a lot of really interesting speakers that explore technology, that explore brand experience, that explore campaigns and marketing and advertising, content. But you're also going to hear from some experts, academics, and what I would even call philosophers who think about how digital is impacting us, how it's impacting our culture, how it's changing our society, because understanding that is going to help you make better decisions, not just metrics or activity or engagement, but better understand the behavior of what someone needs before they know they need it. I'll leave this presentation with a quote from a friend of mine, Martha Hayward, over at Fidelity Investments. At some point, all of this talk about social, yes, it is Social Week, yes, this is the Pivot Conference, but we are here to push you beyond your comfort zone. It's not just a social strategy, it's an experience strategy. Customer experience isn't just about service and call centers and support. It's about guiding that discovery process, that decision-making process, and evoking advocacy and loyalty along the way. You control the journey. You own this.